Welcome back to episode 77 of the Disorganized Wizards Club podcast. My name is Alex. I'm here as always with Adam.
Hello.
And Cam.
Hey.
And we're a group of Ottawa-based players that play just about anything and everything we can qualify for. We talk about decks, tournament stories, just about anything to help you and ourselves get better at Magic.
Almost certainly.
Almost certainly.
Or your money back.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Literally all of it back for free. Thank God we don't have a Patreon or something.
Oh, man. We'd have to just change the intro.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be bad, yeah.
Yeah.
In which you probably stay medium at Magic, and so do we.
But, you know, give us some money.
Yeah. Also, smash that sub button and ship us your cash.
Yeah. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a like. Send it to your friends, your grandma.
Yeah, subs are necessary. Oh, yeah, we got to start streaming. Get that Twitch money.
Do any of us have a
Get
camera?
that Twitch money. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to stream.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember
You
that.
used to watch my stream.
I was on your stream.
Uh,
There was that one night we had like a bunch of people over.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Phil Sams was front and center drafting with his hat backwards, and we were all just yelling at him what plays to make.
I remember that because I didn't know, like, we had a normal amount of viewers, which I think was like actually a decent amount, like around 100 or 200.
Something.
And then Bara hosted us mid
yeah.
drunk draft, and I didn't know he was going to. And so we had like 700,000 viewers, and we were just like
700,000?
No, like 700 to 1,000. And we were just like annihilated, like all of us in a room. There's like 5 of us, like just smashed.
Oh, yeah. Like
Just yelling about draft picks, like, and Phil was trying to like play seriously and draft well, and we were just not even paying attention, just yelling picks and like what he should do from behind, just chugging beers and not even paying attention.
It's like when someone's trying to count and you're yelling out random numbers.
Yeah, and he's just like head in his hands trying to play.
And we lost a bunch of games because he just like had the stop set wrong because he was like trying so hard to focus on making the right play that he just missed all the mechanical issues of playing Moto.
Yeah, but yeah,
It was a good night.
So I do have a cam. Yeah, back when I used to stream, that was a good time. I shouldn't have quit streaming.
Yeah.
Well, we can start it up again.
Fire up the official DWC stream.
Stay tuned.
I would just stream tier 1 net decks like a boss too. Just the Chad streamer. None of this brew garbage, you know? Like someone's like, play my brew. I'm like, no. And I just fire up another league with Rally. Like it was just like leagues with Rally and Mardu Green like over and over again. Like come get some.
I mean, that's fair though, because like the playing a brew or like playing this sweet like budget deck, like that market is oversaturated. There's already so many people that stream that content.
Right. Like that was my thought. Actually, like that was legitimately my thought process.
People don't want to tune in to watch you just get smushed over and over.
Right. Like I'll just leave that to Kenji.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
he can play these dumb brews or like Paul or whatever. Like I came to game. I'm out here playing these net decks.
Man, if you get paired against someone who's not playing a net deck, you can just be like, that sucks. Get out. Link them to our podcast.
Yeah, it was great. Like I just play like ramp, even though I hated it. I'm like, all right, let's play some ramp, I guess. Like been running into a lot of these slow, dumb mid-range decks. Time to bust out the Ula box. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like gonna stream some Pauper, and then I was like, nah, let's just stick to the old like stay strong and net deck some standard cards. But no, I think that was like a viable thing. I think that like if we were to do it too, I think it's actually better to like if we were to stream, I wouldn't want to stream like fun brews we have because like I think it's more important. We've had like whole podcast episodes about this, and this is kind of relevant to today anyway, that it's important to play like those tier 1 decks. Like you always hear people, we've mentioned this way back. I can't remember. There was an episode where we talked about the value of playing net decks, basically, where we were saying like, yeah, we brew decks all the time. Like we talk about them all the time on this podcast and we make changes, but we do it because like also playing all the tier 1 decks. Like we play them, we know what they're weak against. We know, you know, like how they play, how they sideboard, right? So like playing these tier 1 decks is a really important practice in Magic that not a lot of people do when they have this kind of pride behind like, I'm out here brewing, you know, like I'm original and cool. Like I'm an edgy Magic player, right? Like, yeah, well.
Yeah, so stay tuned for...
How's the Scarab God taste?
Stay tuned for Net Deck and Chill.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So this past week we had two big team events. One in Kyoto and one in America.
Yeah, they're just
Cincinnati, SCG.
trying to save standard over and over again, basically by mixing it with team events. Because these would have all been standard events.
Yeah, I think so. Eh?
Yeah, but they're moved to team events because WotC ruined Standard. Although I think Standard's actually...
I think it's fine right now.
I think it's in a good place.
It's still like there's obviously real like top contenders for the best deck in the format, but it's still like super diverse.
Yeah.
Yeah, still a lot going on. Like what were you saying? Green white just won the Moto.
Yeah, we had to make an addendum. I got yelled at by a listener actually who private messaged me being like, I have a bone to pick with you because we dunked on green white. It wasn't even this weekend. It was last weekend before when we were on the podcast, saying, hey, yeah, green white sucks. There's no good removal. Mm-hmm. Well, the deck that won the Magic Online PTQ just played no removal and won. And it was a green white deck. It was a green white aggro deck playing like Force Rom's Expertise, Adorned Pouncer, what's the
Merfolk Branchwalker.
Merfolk Branchwalker and Jade Light Ranger or whatever. And then like those are the only, they had like 4 creatures in the deck.
Yeah, because those are the only good green and white cards in Standard.
Correct. And then 4 Appeal to Authority, which is probably how it won. Like it was playing 2 or 4 Servo Expedition as well. So it just like one game's on the back, just
they probably got a lot of people because like everybody is so hype on like, oh, I got to untap with my Scarab God, like, and then they upkeep, reanimate something and like scry it, and they tap out on their upkeep.
Yeah.
And so then they have a 5/5 and a 4/4, and then you just go like, tap both of those, kill you. Because you tapped out on your upkeep because you're so hype on scrying. Like,
yeah, exactly. That's just the normal play pattern of Scarab God. So this is actually like a pretty funny, like meta moment, right? Where like it's not just the deck itself; it's also how people play the deck. Yeah. The accepted play patterns for Scarab God are to do exactly what you're saying, right? Like,
right? Because like, say you don't make it on your upkeep, and then they appeal you, and then they authority, they tap your Scarab God and go into combat, and then you just make a 4/4 and block.
Right. Like it's easy to play around it once you know.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing for later too, right? About like what you know and don't know, like week by week can affect how you play. So yeah, interesting that. So that's an addendum that I guess green white cards can win as long as they just don't play any removal because there is none. Like, well, Joe Lissette also did well with like a white black vampires deck, which was playing like Ixalan's Binding and Cast Out, and there was also the mono white approach deck at Star City,
which played only it was mono white, but its deck was only removal and then approaches.
Yeah.
So clearly, if you're going to play green or white cards, you need to pick creatures or removal. You can't mix the two because neither is strong enough, like without every other card of that type from the format.
Right. So we need to clarify that you can play green and white so long as you pick only creatures and pump spells. Or only removal. Yeah. The vampires decks though is kind of surprising. Yeah, Joel said was like it's like 4 Call to the Feast and Queen's Commission. It's playing what's a card? The Glory.
Oh, Radiant Destiny.
Radiant Destiny.
I mean, so this is similar to like the fact that the green white deck was playing a bunch of SRAM's Expertise, and I played against a friend locally who was on like a tokens deck. And yeah, like if Grixis and blue black are the best, then like these are spot removal decks trying to attack you with like a 5/5 or a 4/4. So like obviously 10 tokens is like going, well, not 10, but a number of tokens is going to be very good against a spot removal strategy. So
yeah. How's a Fatal Push looking now? Like,
well, okay, so actually
Vraska's Contempt looks awful.
Right. So this isn't going to be our blowout, but it was like a mini one. I played against this token. He was playing blue-white tokens with like a Ketra's Monument. And exactly that. I was like, oh, spot removal is miserable here. So I took out all of my Fatal Push, took out all of my Vraska's Contempts, took out everything. My only removal was a 2 Walking Ballistas. Then in turn 6, he just slams Azor the Lawbringer.
The Crappy Sphinx's Revelation Mythic?
Yeah, but if you have no removal in your deck, and you just get attacked for 6, and your opponent draws like 12 cards over the next 2 turns, as you slowly try and take up your Ballista.
And gains life? Yeah, you're dead.
Yeah, I just lost immediately.
Oh yeah, stone dead.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Outplayed, outthought.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he even cast on turn 5 because it's a white creature. Gets discounted by Monument.
That guy bamboozled you.
Oh yeah, I got ranched.
Jeez.
Buy your Azors now.
Where, if I wanted to purchase some Azor, where could I do that?
Oh, you can get them at wizardtower.com.
Oh.
They have free shipping in Canada. You can go to them for all your single needs.
That's good. I happen to live in Canada.
Yeah, sponsors of this podcast. Great store, great people.
Yeah, check them out.
Yeah, they have an event coming up as usual on the weekend. They have premier events that will help qualify you for their Wizard Tower Open. I'm not sure what this Saturday's Open event is. Do you know?
It is Just an open qualifier mixed with standard showdown. So just a standard event.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's sweet when they mix like, you get this extra prizing and you get to qualify for the open and it's a standard showdown. Like,
Yeah.
you get some, sweet picks.
Speaking of extra prizing, just as a side note, starting in April, if anyone's been following the Player of the Month series at Wizards Tower, you can now earn points from weekend events. So another reason to
even
show up.
more motivation to get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the player of the month thing we've talked about before, but if you're a local player, that's something worth grinding. Because points.
Definitely.
Qualified last month, didn't even know. Somebody had to message me. They're like, "Hey, Adam, are you going to player of the month tonight?" I'm like, "Why would I go to play?" They're like, "You're in 5th or whatever, or 6th." I was like, "Huh."
That is a pretty good reason to go.
Guess I'll go do my free draft and get a bunch of free store credit just for crumpling some nerds at limited.
It's not free. You earned that. Don't sell yourself short.
Everything I ever got in life was earned.
Yeah.
Never had a handout once.
Well, but then that also applies to the bad things, right? You've earned it all.
Yeah.
No, that stuff I was just unlucky.
So at the Wizard Tower this past weekend, there was a Modern Open, which Cam and I went and played in.
Ooh, don't remind me.
Cam had a rough time.
You played green black.
Yep.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
Well, played is a pretty strong word for what I did all day, but
Oh man, he
Go
got
on.
crumpled.
yeah,
That deck is so good.
I went 2 and 4.
You probably just suck.
Yeah, I mean, so there were parts where I sucked. There were also parts where like I was actually just getting unlucky. Like I lost to a Karanos because I had like 6 lands in play and 3 in
that
hand.
card's really good against that deck. Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, like it just flooding and dying. Or I was playing against like an aggressive deck, and my Dark Confidants. The only times all day that my Dark Confidant lived, they either flipped lands while I was flooding or flipped 3 drops when I was dying.
Yeah, that is unlucky.
So like playing against an aggro deck and I take 12 off Confidants and lose. Like,
But like
what am I supposed
whenever
to
you
do?
play Dark Confidant, you just pay the iron price.
Yeah, exactly. So like there were games though that I definitely punted. I was playing against Little Kid Abzan and forgot. I like Inquisitioned him too, so I knew it was in his hand. I just forgot every single line of text on Wiltleaf Liege.
Oh, you just played bad.
Oh man.
Yeah, that game like I deserved to lose. I was like still kind of tired and I was like
That's a deck. Green black or like any rock or Jund decks are decks that like there is not a lot of margin for error.
Yeah.
Like you make one mistake, you're toast.
because I like Inquisitioned
You're
him.
trying to play fair. You
Yeah,
can't mess up.
exactly. You
Yeah.
play fair and modern like a donkey. Like, I mean, I love that deck. I'm currently undefeated. Get at me. I always make the right decisions. Always.
Yeah, he like I knew he had a 4th land in hand and the Wiltleaf Liege, and then on his turn he just plays a Ghost Quarter and Ghost Quarters me, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. I wonder why he didn't play it. I guess I'm gonna tick up this Liliana, the Veil. Puts it into play, and then I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. Then like 2 turns later, I'm like, oh, attack you with this tracker, and he like blocks with a Finks. I'm like, hey, like pump my tracker up to 4 toughness. He's like, yeah, my Finks is a 5/4 too. Like I don't know what you're.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah, Cam had a rough day.
That is rough.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
So
you
that-
to be in your defense.
That match, I clearly
It was
threw
your
away.
first time. and you okay in your actual defense, because like we always make fun of that defense. Like it's my first time playing the deck, which is the dumbest defense in the world. Unless, by the way, you're playing the Songs of the Damned Pauper combo deck, the Storm deck that has no lands. You know that deck?
No.
That deck's really hard to play. Actually, I couldn't figure it out for the first like 5 goldfishes. I just was like, just like scooped it up and quit. Couldn't, and then I finally figured it out. But Modern actually is. We've talked about this a ton. Modern is a format that you have to know to play well. Like
Right. And this is maybe like a good little mini lesson in that like there have been a lot of Modern events televised recently, and I've been watching more Modern than I ever used to. And so I thought, and because we've been talking about it on the podcast, that I had a grasp of like what's in Modern. But Wiltleaf Liege wasn't on coverage, so it just wrecked me because I hadn't seen it be
Just
played.
didn't know what it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Rough
get
beats,
you.
man.
How'd you do?
I top 8'd. Played Sean. Just stepped over dead bodies all day. It was great.
Just carding people.
Oh yeah, I carded so many people.
Yeah,
amazing.
Tron's great.
Yeah.
It's obnoxious. I hate it because I like playing rock decks and stuff and can
Yeah.
never win in a million years. I just fade that deck all the time. I just never get paired against it, which is lucky
Yeah, man. I actually,
or skillful. You choose.
yeah. I actually enjoyed myself that day. There were some like really sweet games. I have a sweet blowout for the end of the show, and it was a good tournament.
Well, you just get to bully Tarmogoyfs all day, or
No,
really?
no, I didn't play against Tarmogoyf until the top 8.
It's because everyone's broke.
Yeah, I think I played against Black Red, Demonic Pact,
What?
Blue White Control, Burn.
It was cat packed.
You beat Blue White Control?
Yeah, I did.
Was he salty?
Oh, yes, he was.
Saltier than his spreading seas.
Yeah. That matchup is
It was
like
not happy.
legit terrible for Tron.
Uh,
Not terrible, but
I thought that because I'm like, oh yeah, four Field of Ruin, 4 Spreading Seas. This can't be good. Countered spells, but like they just can't clock you.
but they don't do anything.
They don't do anything. They can't clock you. I like
Unless
my one Ghost Quarter. Every game was just held off a colonnade that could never attack.
Yeah, unless you're playing against the blue-white controlist that top 8 of Japan. In that case, you're dead. That guy's going to kick your teeth in.
The one playing Ojutai.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can't clock you now, huh?
He wasn't playing Ojutai. He was playing Gideon of the Trial and
And Ally of Zendikar.
and Colonnades, which were like the least threatening thing on the entire planet.
Yeah, Colonnades are...
Yeah.
It's so funny. Colonnade's like an $80 card, and every time I play against it, I'm like, man, that card sucks. It doesn't do anything. Like, it costs so much mana in your Cryptic Command deck. Like, and I love, like, do nothing garbage control decks, you know? And I don't know, like, I just don't buy it. Like, I just don't think that card's that good. Maybe I'm wrong. We need a meme sign, like, for, you know, it's like, prove me wrong. We need those signs for the podcast for like listeners to come argue with me, but I'm gonna make that stand. Like, Colonnade sucks. It's actually like so rarely relevant. Like, you'll obviously play it because it's like, actually, is it even free? Like, coming in to play tap sucks in that deck too. You're playing Cryptic Command and now you're playing Jace. Like I guess on 3 is like the best, right? Like turn 3 has got to be the best time to play it. But that's like, because turn 1, what if you have like Serum Visions? Like, you're not pathing, I guess. Like, you don't really have turn 1 plays, but like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's just like,
I went into the match concerned, and then, but it played out like all 3 games were super winnable, and I just, like game 1, I only lost because I drew like 6 lands in a row, one turn, and then one like the sequence at the end of the game. The other 2 games, like I never felt like I was in any point behind. And he didn't matter how many of my lands he killed. I'm just like still like this
like eventually I'll just
winnable.
play lands and kill you because like none of your cards do anything.
Exactly, yeah. It just wasn't threatening.
And like all your cards are terrifying.
But yeah, my one loss in Swiss was to Burn, obviously.
Yeah.
But and I beat Living End in like a crazy 3 games. It was ridiculous. Like the first game wasn't even I just played lands and died, essentially. He brought back like 3 Horror of the Broken Lands on like turn 3 and just destroyed me. But the next 2 games were really good. He like Stone Rained me a whole bunch. It was really interactive, and I won both. Restarted the game with
it was a good game. He Stone Rained me a bunch. It was really interactive. Those are not like the
no, but like there was still a lot of back and forth like graveyard interaction
I know.
from
I'm
me.
just laughing at like normally you wouldn't hear people say like, yeah, he Stone Rained me a bunch. It was a good game.
No, and I won game 3 after I restarted the game with my Karn and started over with an Ulamog and an Ugin in play.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, it was pretty good, I thought. It was sweet.
He just concede or
no.
I guess he played out because of Living End.
He played 2 turns because he could have. There was a sequence where he could Simian Spirit Guide into a Living End and make me sack the Ulamog.
Yeah.
Still, you're still going to lose to the Ugin, but
never beat.
And then I lost in top 8 to Teamer Blood Moon deck with Jason Bloodbraid Elf, which
right on. That's the deck I was talking about.
Yeah, it was
really.
Like,
Rug Bloodbraid Elf.
I got pretty unlucky to like.
What was he playing? What was his list?
Goyfs, Noble Hierarchs, Blood Moon, Bolt, Jace,
Ancestral Vision's the real
Ancestral Vision.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on board. Yeah, I've talked about this.
Cascade into Visions. You just cast it free, which he did against Ellie.
Yeah, I definitely like game 1. I punted when I played a 3/3 Walking Ballista on turn 3 to kill a Jace, like an O2 Jace, a flip Jace, and a Noble Hierarch instead of just playing a Wormcoil Engine. And then he Blood Mooned me, and then my Wormcoil was stuck in my hand.
Right.
And then like I ended up losing that game.
He can't beat a Wormcoil without committing like Jason Mind Sculptor to the board, right?
Yeah, it would have been tough.
It was actually super close. I think Stelly attacked with the Wormcoil.
Yeah,
and
like,
then
I definitely misplayed a few turns, which probably cost me it because I put myself in a position where I had to top deck an 8th land to play an Ugin, which would have won on the spot, but I missed it for 2 turns in a row and then I died. which was shitty. But and then game two, I multi 5 and he blood mooned me, and like, what are you gonna do there, right?
Yeah.
Tron.
So, yeah.
No, yeah, that's a deck I was like talking about on the podcast. I remember I was like, that's the dream. You get to play Jace, like Bloodbraid and Ancestral. Like you either do it in Bug or Rug. The reason I said Rug was probably worse, and I still think so, is because of the removal, but Lightning Bolt is still Lightning Bolt.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good tournament. I did enjoy playing Modern, so
Unbelievable.
yeah, I know, it's crazy.
This is a first, actually.
Yeah.
Is this a first for
It's
the
been a while.
DWC podcast?
It's been a while since I've said that.
Modern is like Magic in total, but Modern in specific is a zero-sum game for amount of fun had. And so Stelly was only able to enjoy his day because mine went so miserably.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
You're welcome, Stelly.
And I stayed home. I was going to go, actually. I just didn't put a deck together.
Yeah.
I had like all the cards lying around my room somewhere, and just was like, I don't know for sure what I want to play, and I'm too lazy to dig around and like come up with what I want to play, and just put a card I own deck together, which is like for sure what I was going to play, which probably would have ended up being the Rug deck, to be honest, because I own those cards and they look fun to play.
Yeah.
You even got Goyfs.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I could get those though.
Yeah.
Just get them from Ryan.
Why does he own a green creature?
For Delver decks and Legacy.
Okay.
He played Rug Delver for a long time.
What, was lands popular or?
No one plays lands.
Oh, okay.
Tabernacles are like $1 billion. I think. No, I like 1,500. That's a lot though.
That's basically $1 billion in Magic Land.
That's not that much.
1,500?
Yeah.
That's like as much as most other decks.
In Modern, it's like a deck.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's like an average deck.
That's what I'm saying. It's the cost
John,
of an
I
entire
think John's
deck
like
for one
$3,000.
card.
I think John's like $3,000.
Yeah.
Pull it up. while I think about what I was gonna say. John's pricey, man. John's really pricey. That deck's good, I guess. I don't know.
It has a contender for maybe the best deck in Modern at the moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, is that in paper or on Moto?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 2,200. Okay, that's a lot.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a decent amount to win. Pay to win, am I right? Am I right?
Yeah. All right, let's talk a little bit about these team events, though. We saw...
Oh, that's what I was going to talk about.
What?
I just want to say, you're talking about how your Dark Confidant was flipping, like,
Yeah.
all the worst things. Do you have a best Dark Confidant flip story?
No.
How about you?
No.
Okay, do you know what the best Dark Confidant? I don't care what anyone's is. This is the best Dark Confidant story. So Ben, like, who has been a guest on the podcast, was playing in the top 8 of Grand Prix Detroit.
Yeah, that's the one he top 8'd for. No, he top 8'd
He's top 8 a few, but
a few for Modern.
But for Modern as
Yeah.
well. But like it was in Detroit, I'm quite sure. And he had a board of, I don't know, it was the John DeMere.
Yeah.
And he had a board of like some amount of idiots. And his opponent also had a board of some amount of idiots. But Ben was winning with lingering, like 3 or 4 lingering souls in the air, and was like basically a lock as long as like nothing went wrong. And his opponent goes to flip, and he flips Bonfire of the Damned. And Ben's mind instantly goes, oh no, I'm dead, to, oh wait, get wrecked. It says put into your hand, not draw. So the miracle for Bonfire isn't enough to do anything to Ben's board. And he just has to tap out that turn just to kill Lingering Souls, which also won't kill Ben's Ajani or his Tarmogoyfs or anything relevant.
Oh, man.
Because like the guy had like 5 mana.
Yeah.
Which like would have like wiped Ben, like killed his Johnny, killed his board, like killed him basically, like taking out his blockers. But instead it's just like X is 1, like pay 3 mana and do nothing else with my turn, pass. Like,
Oh.
yeah. And then Ben like wins that match. But he was like, it was like he was like, oh, oh
Yeah.
my God, am I seriously losing to a Bonfire in Modern, like in the mirror kind of thing? Like, and then he was like, oh wait.
Yeah.
I'm
And
not
he
dead.
realizes instantly, like, get wrecked. Like, it's not enough to kill my, like, blood, like, whatever. Like, I think he had 4 mana or something, right? Like, it was not enough to kill his Bloodbraid Elf, like, something else that he had. Like, but yeah.
That's insane.
Because Dark Confidant is put it into your hand on draw. So if
Yeah.
anybody plays some Miracles with Dark Confidant, it's like a relevant thing that can come up. Pretty good one. Yeah. That's like,
That is
I think
pretty
that's
good.
like one of the best Dark Confidants that like you don't get blown out by Bonfire of the Damned because of Dark Confidant because it's, yeah. It's a good one. Anyway.
All right.
That is
Team
wild.
event. Oh, yeah.
Touching
Bring back Bonfire in Modern, I tell you. No, not in Standard.
SCG Cincinnati. It was won by a team playing Blue Red, Storm, and Modern, Grixis Delver and Legacy, and then Grixis Energy in Standard.
Yeah, pretty solid team
Yeah.
to win it too. Tangem team.
Yeah. I mean, top 4 decks in Standard, 2 Grixis Energy decks, a blue-black control, white-black vampires. Okay.
Oh, the white-black vampires.
I mean,
We
for
talked
Legacy-
about why it's good already.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Legacy, double Grixis Delver, Miracles, and lands. Miracles is kind of the one standout there.
Well, so Miracles also did it the last team event as well. Jim Davis was playing it with Back to Basics and everything. And also, spoiler for 2 minutes from now, it also top 4s the Japanese team event in Kyoto as well. This guy's just straight up playing counterbalance.
Jeez.
Yeah. Guy did not get the memo about tops.
Maybe
yeah,
if
and
you're just
then-
really lucky.
And then Modern, we saw 2 Storm decks, a Burn deck, and then Amulet Titan.
Yeah, Edgar Megales. Which,
Yeah, he's
who's-
Canadian.
Yeah, whose
Yeah.
name they could not pronounce on coverage. How do they pronounce it? McGallish?
McGallish.
McGallish?
Edgar McGallish.
There's no H at the end of it.
No.
But that was good. Yeah,
Yeah.
Megales, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think I've seen a few of his tweets in recently where he's just been like destroying Moto with this
Yeah.
Amulet deck.
Yeah, he has been. That's
Mm-hmm.
the guy also. Do you remember when I played that the deck with P and Kieran Alar at Quebec City?
Yeah.
He top 8'd, I top 32'd. We
Mm-hmm.
were the only 2 people playing that 75
Okay.
at that GP, and like that was our results. Yeah, we were on this exact same 75 because we both got it from Sammy T. So yeah, no, he's a good player. He like engineering school, I think, in like Waterloo or whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, Storm's definitely back. Humans can't hold this.
Was
deck down
Ryan
anymore.
right?
And
Did he not say that he would just play it because he thought that like the humans decks would get picked apart anyway and it wouldn't be a big deal, and then he'd just get to run free,
Yeah.
run
Especially
wild and free?
with John. Yeah. John forcing humans out.
Yeah, that's what he's like,
I-
John's the most played deck. Like I would
It's
just play
not-
Storm.
it's not really forcing it out though. It won a GP last weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was last weekend.
I don't know. I think this just again proves to what we've been saying about Modern. It just you can't metagame ever.
You-
Any deck could.
You
be
just
good.
couldn't play Storm for a while because there were too many people on humans.
Yeah.
Like humans is still good,
Yeah.
but it's not like the weekend where it won SCG and the weekend after it was the only deck that I saw play.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you know, it's still a good deck. But yeah, this Titan deck, like it's probably scary, like bad that it's good, you know? Like that's not a
Yeah.
good
So like, let's talk about this deck a little bit. What's new in this deck that we haven't seen before?
I think they just started playing Explorer, right?
They were always playing Explorer, weren't they?
No.
Yeah, I'm
Or was
pretty
that just the Titan Shift decks?
Just the Titan Shift decks.
Hmm.
This deck
it?
Amulet never played Explorer.
Did it used to play Secura Tribe Scout?
No.
That's new.
That's what
Uh,
they started playing as a replacement when what's it called? Summer Bloom got banned.
Yeah.
They started playing that as the replacement. That's been in it for
Okay.
a while, but Explorer is the card that is new. And it makes sense. Like you're just trying to find action in ramp. Like it's just taking inferior ramp card, but it's probably like very, very good in this deck. But otherwise, it's basically the same deck. Like it didn't, you know, like lose too much apparently from the bans. It's probably still viable. Clearly, still viable.
Yeah.
You hate to see it. This deck's miserable.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's one of those decks that I think it's kind of in the same vein of something like Lantern Control. That, you know, it's obviously good, but we're not really gonna see much of it.
Yeah, like how come? What is up with that? By the way, I didn't even think of that. Like, if Lantern won a Pro Tour, and like we're looking at these modern results, we see modern. Like, where is that deck?
I mean, it won a Pro Tour before the like format changed. People are too hype on these unbanned cards.
Yeah, they got
like, who
bamboozled.
knows?
Why aren't you just playing? Why isn't everyone just playing Lantern? It's modern, man.
I don't know. I can't tell you.
I literally don't understand this format.
I mean, so like Lanterns weakness, the thing that they're always worried about if you ask Lantern players, are effects that allow their opponent to draw multiple cards at a time or at instant speed.
Yeah.
And like if they have a Bloodbraid Elf in their hand at the beginning of the game and they're lucky enough, like you can't interact with the Cascade at all. They could just blow up your enchantment and kill you.
Yeah, that is a beating.
So
yeah, maybe that's it. And like an increase in the amount of Colligan's commands. That's also a problem. Okay. Problem solved. I understand this format perfectly.
Yeah. So moving in, then we move over to Kyoto here, where all the good stuff is.
Hold on, you forgot to mention Tenjum's changes, which I thought were hilarious.
Oh yeah. So
Andrew Tenjum was in the winning team of the Star City Games team event, and he was playing Standard, and he was piloting Grixis Energy.
not just him, a few other people had a similar Grixis Energy list.
And we thought this was kind of funny because if you go back and listen to last week's podcast before this Star City, which clearly they did as well, we said to just mash blue-black. Cam said it actually specifically.
Yeah.
To combine blue-black and Grixis strategies in the card selections and like add in like a Liliana Death's Majesty and like
The specific example I gave was taking out Whirler Virtuoso in favor of Champion of Wits in Grixis decks. And I mean, that's exactly what
that
happened
is
here.
exactly what they did. They're not playing Whirler Virtuoso and they're playing Champion of Wits.
Yeah. And then the red removal. It's just blue-black with the red removal, which
And
is what I suggested.
I remember this exact conversation from last week because it was Alex saying how good he was just like on a rant about how good Champion of Wits was, like filtering out the bad cards in the matchup, fighting your sideboard cards. It was just like did everything. If you ever got to like eternalize it, it was insane, yada, yada, yada. And you were like, well, why don't you just cut Whirler Virtuoso? You don't need the energy and play Champion and Grixis and do the exact same things and take some of the like lessons. Yeah. Pretty funny. And then this is the winning list.
Yep. Classic
DWC does it again. Just the world's smartest three people. I'm going to GP Toronto. I'm going to win this thing.
Yeah, let's go.
When is GP Toronto?
May 13th?
May 13th.
May 18th? It's in May.
Is it standard
Where
or
is it?
modern?
It's team constructed.
Oh.
That's why Benson was inviting us.
Right.
Whoa.
We have to go play in preparation with our RPTQ teammate.
Yeah. Well, maybe not in prep, because if we top 8 the GP, then we're just already qualified for the Pro Tour, and we don't get to go to the RPTQ.
Wait, you mean you're going to go to Team GP and we're not going to play as a trio?
Yeah, that is an issue.
Yeah, but like, we already have an RPTQ team.
Yeah. It's not even the same format.
It's somewhat true, yes.
Yeah, that is true. Maybe there should be a DWC team, actually. That's actually tough.
How hype would that be?
Yeah,
That
I
would
do
be
think that
sweet.
is sweet. That is like a tough ethical quandary now.
Yeah. You're giving us a trolley dilemma here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to have to let the listeners vote to solve this issue for us.
Who would play what? I'd play Modern, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
and
play
then-
Legacy.
I'd play Standard, yeah.
It's pretty easy.
Yeah, okay.
I'm the only one who can. I'm the only one who can play Legacy.
Yeah.
Stelly's the only one that can stand Modern.
No, I can play Modern.
Yeah, I said can stand it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I don't know. Stand it up for like how long? Yeah, 15 rounds is a lot of rounds. 18 rounds.
Hey, man,
is a long time.
my best Grand Prix performance is still Modern.
Yeah, that's true. Wasn't
Yeah.
it like your second Grand Prix? You
First Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's like top 32 easily.
Yeah.
Just beating up on these dumb Jun players. Dude,
Yeah,
run
exactly.
it back. Okay, actually, it might have to be the DWC team, so we still could just run it back on people in Modern. Yeah, I don't have to play Legacy at a GP, though.
Why?
It just...
What?
Format sucks. Like, I like Legacy, but like, going back
You
to
get
like...
to play like check pile.
Yeah, but going back to like this Japanese event that we were talking about, like, if you look at the breakdown from this event, it's not a good look, man. There's just like, I just meant like Legacy. I'm sick of Brainstorm and Ponder and Jace and like,
I mean-
that's all there is in Legacy. And it's just, I don't know. I don't mind it on Moto where I can like be watching Netflix or in paper where I just like half pay attention and talk to friends or something while my opponent tanks on a like easy Brainstorm. But playing through a Grand Prix and just like dealing with just people cracking fetches and brainstorming nonstop is like draining. Like I've done it before. I've played in Legacy GPs. It's exhausting.
Yeah, but you can pay attention to our matches.
No, because you also have to watch your opponent because people are savage cheaters.
All right, well,
Like in Legacy,
right, but
Come on,
if you
bro.
have faith in Stelly and mine, in our deck choices, you can just like borderline slow play and then we'll win our matches, and then you don't have to play out the rest
But
of
like
yours.
Legacy's already slow, like because of all the stupid shuffling and brainstorming.
Yeah.
That like you can play like combo decks at kill on turn 4, and the game still goes like 40 minutes. Like, yeah, it just takes forever because people are slow. I don't know. I mean, I do it. I'll do
Yeah,
it.
okay.
I'll play Legacy. I'm not.
You're just going to complain about it.
I'm just gonna. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like
Yeah,
actually
of
more
course.
excited about it because I have higher complaint equity. This is
Sounds
really
about
actually
right.
just a win-win.
Yeah, sounds about right.
This, as usual, Japanese GPs though never disappoint.
No, they don't.
They never do. Though the deck lists, what top 8s are always
Man.
wild.
Starting off with Modern, we got the good old mono blue taking turns.
Oh yeah,
It's taking everyone's turns. No
Oh, yeah.
turns are safe, boys.
you got a turn, mine. You got a
Oh,
turn,
you want a
also
turn?
mine.
Mine.
Yeah, dibs. Dibs that turn. I got next.
Oh man.
I love this deck. I've been ranting about this deck on the podcast. People,
You know the thing that
forever.
like little kids do when you like attack and then you're thinking in your second main, they're like, is it my turn yet? He's just asking himself that all day.
Oh yeah, mine. Love it.
That team, like Modern was mono blue turns, Legacy was Allurin.
Yeah, these
which
guys rule.
You don't see like ever.
I haven't seen an Allurin deck since Star City Games got rid of the day. Like, you know how they used to be Saturday was just a tournament and
Yeah.
Sunday was a completely different tournament, and
Yeah.
it was always standard in Legacy, the glory days where they just cut out Modern.
Mhm.
Man, life was good for coverage back then. And in Legacy, you'd see like an Allurin once in a blue moon like show up and win a tournament. You'd be like, holy crap, that's awesome. And like since then, I can't remember the last time I've seen an Allurin deck, and this guy top 40 GP with it, man. It warms my cold heart.
Yeah. And then red black aggro.
Yeah, like in standard, you guys played red black aggro.
Yeah.
Like these guys rule. They're out there brewing. Just 3 witches brewing. This is a classic Macbeth moment.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm on board with these guys. I was chirping brewers, but like I can respect it if they win. The Chad Brewer.
Well, then you're not a brewer anymore. You're just the first person to net deck that deck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there was no copies of decks in this top 4. Like standard, we have blue black mid range, red green monsters, red black aggro, and big red.
Big red.
Big red.
We talked about this deck too, about how we thought a rekindling Phoenix Glorybringer red deck would be good. And it turns out it's fine.
Yeah. And then Legacy, Sneak and Show, Check Pile, Allurin, and Miracles.
Miracle's running it back.
Yeah.
Can't stop it.
And then Affinity, Humans, Mono Blue taking turns, and Blue White Control.
You love to see it.
Yeah.
Affinity winning tournaments like it should. I'm a big fan of what happened this weekend because people
Yeah.
just played across all formats wherever the hell they damn well pleased.
Yeah, pretty much.
And pardon my cussing, but I'm a fan.
Yeah, some pretty sweet stuff happening. But moving on from all that, let's talk a little about our topic for getting better this week.
Yeah. So this topic was actually one requested by a listener, which is why, like, we just spent a lot of time talking about the diversity of the results from this last weekend, which this topic doesn't really lend itself towards. But yeah, it was listener requested, and their question was sort of, in a format that has a best deck, how do I know if I should try and attack that best deck or if I should just play that best deck? And this is a topic we've kind of touched on before when we told everyone to just play Teamer Energy.
Yeah, I just told everyone to net deck.
Yeah, we just kind of gave up. But we kind of wanted to elaborate on like what the scenario was that deck existed in that made us say just play this deck instead of like trying to expose its weaknesses.
Right.
So like the first bullet point we have here for when you're trying to decide if you should build an anti-meta deck is you need to have the deck you want to attack in mind, which let's say you're thinking about Jund in Modern currently. You think that's going to be a combination of the most powerful and most popular deck.
Yes. There needs to be a clear contender for the best deck.
Right. There needs to be a clear contender. Or, I mean, if you just personally hate an archetype, you can use the same approach.
Oh, yeah. Also reasonable.
Yeah, people have known to do.
I'm pretty sure that's how the Humans deck came into existence.
Some guy just didn't like
He
Storm.
just hated Storm. He's like, that's it. I'm done. Like, I'm done. I don't get to play removal, but I'll just play Reflector Mage to get their dumb gobbo.
Yeah.
Like, I'll meddling mage anything that I mean that's just game instantly, but you know what I mean? Like it was just like I'm just gonna do everything like freebooter. I have pressure because all my stuff kills people. Like that's how that deck game exists for sure.
Yeah. It wasn't the printing of the extra 5-color lands.
No, it was, but like it's just a funny deck in the sense of like Storm at that point in Modern, there were 2 decks really.
Yeah.
Modern had actually boiled down to an almost 2-deck format in that Titan Shift and Storm were sort of like the 2 decks. Well, sorry, 3 and Death Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
But Shadow's like fair, you know. But like of those 3 decks that Modern had sort of boiled down to at that point, where humans burst onto the scene, like it was, they could beat those by just naming Scape Shift Titan and anything from Storm and winning, basically. Like any, you know, well, you just name Grape Shot actually, but
yeah. Because I mean, you probably just play Meddling Mage and let your Storm opponent pick. They still can't win.
Right. Like, yeah, it's such a bad matchup. But like, so they had identified like, well, while there isn't a clear contender, there is like enough or they're similar enough that this deck can address them.
So once you have that identified, you need to check like, why is this deck good? Is it because, say, it's in category A, which is that it's just and this is the category I think Jund is in currently. It's just a consistent deck with strong cards and flexible answers that has game against most things, and so it does well. Or if it's in category 2, B, I think I went A and 2, which decks like Aetherworks Marble before it was banned fits into, or arguably Birthing Pod when it was in Modern, where it's just doing something so much stronger than the rest of the format that, like, any deck that could try and attack it is still going to be like tiers below it.
Yeah, right. Like Birthing Pod was just like too diverse, too consistent, too powerful, could change its answers. Like this was their justification for just finally banning out like Teamer Energy, right? It was like it would just change its sideboard. Like Birthing Pod could just adjust to whatever it needed to. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like if you want examples of decks that fit into category 2B.
This is way too confusing. But decks that you can't meta against.
Just look at anything that has had cards banned out of it.
Yeah. Like these are decks that are essentially like too good. But those aren't the decks we're going to talk about. Or we're not really interested because you can't meta against those.
Right.
We're just saying like,
the answer there is don't try. Like that's when we said just play Teamer Energy. You just have to play that deck because it's.
But today, what I think in some ways it kind of came up as well because like on top of a listener asking, you know, we were talking about green white, like the removal sucks and everything, but like we were kind of perhaps like myopic in our approach to this because like there was a way to attack. I think best decks in that like just go wide, play tokens. Like we've talked about this actually when I was playing Thopters, right? Like okay, well that is how you can attack like the current position, right? That's why the Vampires deck's doing well. So like
I also think that like in our current environment, it's forgivable to people. It's forgivable for people to assume that Scarab God is like the second type of deck, that it's just like way too strong into the meta. It's doing something that nobody can deal with because like the last 3 best decks in Standard have all been that type and have all had bans. So like it's just what we're expecting.
Right. That like you're just wasting your time.
Right. We're just so used to being like, this is clearly nuts, and we just wait for the ban that we've gotten lazy in like thinking about how to attack Standard decks. But let's say that you are in the sort of the more interesting type, something that's just consistent, but not like
bannable.
Yeah, not bannable, not broken strong. Then you actually have something that you can attack.
So how do you do that?
Right. Well, the second question then is, if I attack this, if I build a deck that will beat this thing I hate.
Let's say blue-black mid-ranger Grixis Energy is Standard right now.
You build something that preys on those decks, be it Thopters, be it green-white, whatever. Can I beat any other matchup?
This is like a fatal flaw people make in brewing to attack a particular metagame, which is like, you may beat this deck every time, but if someone also shows up with any other deck, you can never win.
Right.
So, or, you know, then you can't play that deck is what I'm saying. Like, if somebody shows up with a deck that, you know, like if your deck can only beat the best deck and nothing else, then that's also probably not worth playing, right? Like the reason Humans is successful is because like, yeah, I was able to attack the metagame particularly well, but it also is just like a solid, viable, tribal aggressive deck. Like it could win games against other strategies.
Like Thalia is good against all removal spells.
Right, it's just a good deck. Like the deck can do everything. It's a good tribal deck. So like when you choose to play an anti-meta deck, a deck that's positioned well against the best decks in the meta, it also has to be a deck in itself that is powerful and viable and has explosive draws and has ways to win.
Right. Like we always talk about how weird the results are in Japan. And so maybe that's a question you can ask is like, I have this deck to attack my local meta. If I go to Japan and play this deck, like, will it do all right? Because the meta there is going to be completely different.
But can your deck still win?
Yeah.
Right? Like you were talking about during the Delver days in Standard.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because what I was saying, like, we haven't really had a format in recent memory where it was easy to do this because, you know, just thinking back recently, we had Teamer Energy. But it wasn't like the end all be all of that format. You also had mono red. So there wasn't really a strategy that had really good game against both decks. You could have really good game against one, but then you suffered against the other. So you couldn't really build an anti-meta deck because both those decks were almost half and half in the meta game.
Right. And they're so wildly different in their strategies.
Yeah. And then before that, you know, you had Marvel decks, you had Marty Vehicles and Saheeli combo, both of which were about half and half of the meta game as well. Two very different strategies. It was hard to bring something to the table that was just solid against both.
Those were like a double whammy. They were like this particular case of your deck not being able to beat the rest of the field when you're kind of sandwiched between these two decks. But like Mardu Vehicles, banned. Saheeli, banned. And they had this sandwich.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know how you're supposed to compete with that.
Yeah, that metagame was truly horrendous and miserable.
Yeah.
Whereas right now in Standard, like I think Cam's right, people aren't exploring. Like
yeah, because like most of the meta games we've had for like a long time, like a few years, there hasn't really just been one deck in the format that completely crushes. The only thing I can think of is probably Aetherworks Marvel right before it got banned, where it was like very obviously the best deck, but people were still a little unsure about it.
yeah.
But that was a hard deck to target because, you know, you couldn't really target it outside. You just had to hope they whiffed.
Yeah.
So that was a really weird situation. But the one that really jumps out to me was back when I started playing Magic, and Blue-White Delver was far and away the best deck in Standard. You know, this was like Scars and Mirrodin, New Phyrexia, and Innistrad Standard. And I mean, there was decks like Birthing Pod was in Standard. That deck was good, but there was also Red-Green Ramp, but Blue-White Delver was far and away like the best strategy in that format. And then this black-green ramp deck with like Grave Titan and Primeval Titan came out to specifically prey on Delver. And it spiked a GP. It won a GP that was just a room full of Delver decks. And this is really the only format where I can think of in recent memory where, you know, you had one deck that was by far and away, you know, the best. And it was targeted to success. You know, anti-meta deck essentially took down
there was a clear
a
best
GP.
deck that could be hated out.
Yeah.
Right. It was capable to hate out Delver decks. They weren't invincible.
Yeah.
Like they weren't bannable.
No.
They were just very good and very consistent. I think that's actually the case currently with Scarab God and like the Grixis decks.
Yeah.
Like they're beatable.
They're very beatable.
And I think that it's actually quite easy to beat them with the correct strategies. And I think that we're slowly starting to see it creep up. I think people playing like the Vampires decks, the Monument decks, like they're starting to identify like, okay, well, like I'll just interact on an axis that like Scarab God isn't capable of. Because really, like we're out here trying to beat one card.
Yeah. Like, oh, this one card is weak against tokens and they're cutting up raids. Guess I'll play Monument. Like,
right. Like the blue-black deck's never winning.
no, they cannot beat a single artifact that has any relevant text on it.
Or enchantment.
Or enchantment, yeah.
Right, which is why like this weekend, one of the defining sideboard cards this weekend was Argul's Bloodfast or Blood Feast.
Blood fast.
Why is it fast?
No, because he's going into
and then it flips and then everyone gets to eat
yeah.
because you're hungry and losing life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
goes into the wood or the swamp or whatever, not eating, not drinking blood, gets all delusional, but then happens upon whatever ruined temple he finds.
Right, and then just goes ham.
Yeah.
Huh. That is a flavor pass.
Yeah, he passed on the flavor of blood.
So you're saying it was a standout card?
Yeah, it was one of the defining cards in the matchups this weekend between the Grixis and or blue-black decks. It was like the go-to card advantage card. Like people were turning to it in blue-black control over Search for Escanta just because could come down earlier and just immediately start drawing cards. Like life totals don't matter in those matchups. And like once it's on the board, it was over. And the search for Esconta, people were playing Field of Ruin this weekend, right? As an answer to it. So people weren't getting the blood. People just wouldn't flip their Bloodfast, right? Like, and it wouldn't matter. The card advantage was way too much. Like,
I think you have to flip it if you're low enough, but
I think it's May.
oh,
It's definitely May.
okay. We can
uh,
double check. But there was actually,
But you can also just draw enough cards by then that it's fine. And I'm also pretty sure
it's a May.
It's
Oh,
May
okay.
because I played it a few times.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, that's fairly good. There was a couple interesting scenarios where people did want to flip it, especially in the blue-black mirrors, because the only removal that hits Scarab God is Exile Effects. Everyone's playing Vraska's Contempt. And if you sack your Scarab God, it's dying. It goes back to your hand. So you can just protect against the only relevant removal in your opponent's deck.
Yeah, it's a very good card. I think
Yeah.
it's like one of the most interesting sideboard cards, like the best sideboard cards from this weekend. And something that people should have identified a lot sooner. But
It's been being played for a while.
yeah, it's been played for a while, like alongside like weird ones like Profane Procession. People have started to figure this out. And really what this comes down to is like, it's not just about like anti-meta decks, so to speak, but it's also important to make like anti-meta sideboard choices and plays.
Yeah, play patterns, which like we were talking about earlier.
Which is what we mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, which is like, it's not just about like your anti-meta deck or whatever. Like if you think it's your deck just like is good in general and will crush this matchup, that's when you play the anti-meta deck.
Mm-hmm.
Your anti-meta deck is like the green-white tokens deck. Like it's just a beatdown deck and can kill someone. Like, you know, it has Merfolk Branchwalker, Jadelight Ranger, Appeal to Authority, and a bunch of go-wide stuff. And then like 3 Sky Ships and some Aether Sphere Harvesters. So it's good against Mono Red, like it's good against Scarab God. Kind of covers your bases. And it like, if it plays against a random deck, it has like quote-unquote free wins, right? Like Appeal to Authority is a free win card, right? Like your anti-meta deck has to have free wins and it has to be able to actually crush its like bad matchup or at least have a positive matchup. So that's the kind of decision you have to make when you decide to play these decks. I think those are like the 2 important things. But again, yeah, like I was saying, there's also the play pattern thing, like you were saying, the Scarab God, right? Like people will reanimate. But the Argos Bloodfast is also one of those things is like, we've learned that like all the Grixis colors, and for how much we've talked about how good Grixis colors are on the podcast, they can't interact with enchantments or artifacts anymore, like because they're cutting braids. But enchantments, especially,
they never have been able to.
They can't. Grixis colors can't, like, it just as a color in all formats, like, they can't interact with enchantments. So it's pretty easy, like, to anti-meta these decks and say, okay, well, I'll just play enchantments they can never beat because they can't interact.
The inclusion of these Bloodfasts from the Grixis decks and the other blue-black decks, I think, is just, and people probably overlook this when they think about, like, oh, there's no meta decks, there's nothing that's hating it out. But really, like, these Grixis decks, including Bloodfast, are playing anti-meta decks to the ones that aren't. Like, people don't notice it because so many cards are similar, but they're doing the same thing. There's a clear thing to attack, and they're attacking it from within its own archetype.
Right.
Like, it doesn't have to be that you wildly have different colors or a very different strategy. Like, they're doing the same thing, just it isn't as noticeable.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So there's a lot of ways to do it, but I think it's actually, I think it can come down to actually like a pretty quick recap of a few things, which is like, to know whether your anti-meta deck is viable, you first have to say like, okay, is there a best deck that will make up the large majority of the meta?
Yeah, have a target.
Yeah, have a target, have a clear defined target, and then be certain you can beat the other 30% or 40 or 60% of the meta. Like, whatever that number is, like, you also have to be able to beat them.
Yeah, I mean, if you're only like 30% to beat the other percentage of the metagame, then
there's no point.
What are you doing?
Yeah, there's no point.
Yeah.
Your deck also just, like I said, like it has to have free wins. Like, I know it's like a dumb term, but like it has to be consistent enough that if someone stumbles on mana, you kill them right away, or you can lock up the game. Like, you don't need them to play the exact game plan that the deck you're attacking plays to win, right? Like,
I think if you have a meta, like, if you have an anti-meta deck that requires your opponents to play in a certain way that maybe isn't great against a lot of the field, these are the types of decks that you see crumple an event one weekend and then disappear.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
you can do it like once and then like...
This is exactly what it was. It's that the like Esper Tokens, the weekend of Canadian Nationals, had a very good teamer matchup if teamer played wrong. if they used the wrong play patterns and didn't understand what was happening,
If they didn't have the right sideboard
and if
cards.
they didn't have the right sideboard cards, so they could attack, not like it didn't attack Teamer, it attacked that window of Teamer 75s and Teamer play patterns.
Correct.
And it did it very well that weekend and then stopped working.
Right, because people started playing River's Rebuke. They started understanding what mattered in the matchup, like what to limit. And then it was bad because people had experience in the matchup.
Right.
So there is something very interesting. And like when you prepare a deck like your anti-meta deck, you also have to like know what their play patterns are going to look like no matter what, basically, and like how to abuse that
Mm-hmm.
and know that you can exploit them. But like once they learn their lesson, you can't go back.
Yeah, be aware of the like longevity of your deck. Like, is this something that I'm tricking my opponent into letting me win?
Right, because that's I think what happens with a lot of anti-meta decks is they can win once and then, you know, like this was what happened with Teamer all the time. They would just, okay, I'll just change my sideboard and now change my play patterns and now you can never win.
Yeah, exactly. Like I got crumpled by our friend playing tokens, and now like on my desk there's a bunch of Hendy's expertise, and they're going in my sideboard.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna get you now.
Yeah.
Right? Like there are ways, like for example, the blue-black decks and the Grixis decks, if they catch on that like all these SRAMs expertise and tokens decks like popping off, they'll just go, okay, I'll just play the Drowned Sorrow card, like the -2/-2 all creatures, and like
Yeah.
don't care anymore. Back to winning every match.
Yeah, most of those decks were playing a copy of Golden Demise already, so you just adjust and play
Yeah,
like
exactly.
one more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like
it's easy.
they can adjust, so you need to like then adjust for that. Like what, you know, and you can in your like anti-meta deck because game one they're not going to have that card,
Mm-hmm.
and they shouldn't. And then game two maybe you board in like
Azor.
yeah, that's well no, I mean,
Yeah, no,
but like
it's
the
good.
equivalent of that, right? Like
Yeah.
knowing how they're going to board. Like okay, have they learned their lesson? Okay, they have. Now time to get them and now, you know, teach them the next one.
Yeah.
So that's an important thing. Like there's a lot of kind of like, it's almost like picking an anti-meta deck is more about identifying play pattern mistakes you can make people make and
Mhm.
exploit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's almost what it feels like are the ones that succeed once and never again.
Yeah. And that's kind of, it goes back to like the attacking a meta from within the popular archetype is you're just exploiting the way that people are playing that archetype.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the most common way that this happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we've talked about, a bunch of different points of how to play well and how to think about how you should play well. But we're going to ignore that now because Stelly's blowout doesn't really have anybody playing particularly well.
What do you mean? I played perfectly.
We'll let the listeners judge.
All right, so round one, Modern this past weekend, playing against Black-Red Demonic Pact. I'm playing Tron, obviously. Game
This
one,
guy coming with the anti-meta deck.
game one, I just beat him with 2 Worm Coil Engines because Black-Red just can't beat Worm Coil Engine. And game two, like I do, I multi 4 on the draw. I keep a Mine, a Thrag Tusk, a Chromatic Star, and an Ancient Stirrings in my hand. My opponent goes, I scry to the bottom, and my opponent goes, okay, turn 1, Inquisition you. I'm like, God damn it. Takes my star. I'm like, all right, there's still a chance though. First draw a power plant. I'm like, okay, almost there. Play my Mine, pass. Goes turn 2, nothing. I'm like, okay, we still have a chance. Draw a tower off the top. I'm like, all right, we're there. Just need something big. Play my power plant, pass back. Plays his third land, passes again. I'm like, oh man, I'm like, come on, one time. Draw a Karn. Okay. Tower Karn, uptick. He exiles a Demonic Pact from his hand. I'm like, okay, interesting. And then I won that game by restarting the game with a Chandra Torch of Defiance, Demonic Pact, Ugin the Spirit Dragon, and Thragtusk that were exiled with my Karn on my multi-4 on the draw after getting Inquisitioned.
Pretty lucky string of draws.
That is
Yeah.
a fair and balanced string of draws for a reasonable deck. Also, like,
Yeah.
what did he keep?
I don't know. He had a bolt in his hand, at least. Demonic Pact, Chandra's. Yeah.
What is that deck?
It's Cat Pact.
Cat Pact.
Yeah, I know. But in Modern?
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh,
You can Cat Pact faster with Simeon Spirit Guide.
But yeah, and the best part was he let me play my first turn of the game.
he actually didn't scoop?
No, so he plays
Props to that guy.
plays his first land, so I get to untap, deal him 4 with the Pact, deal him 2 with Chandra, deal him 3 with Ugin, and attack him for 5 with Tusk. Put him to 6. I'm like, all right, your turn. Then he conceded. I'm like, what a good guy letting me play out the first turn. Like, that was sweet.
The best part of this entire blowout, though, which you have in brackets here, is actually the turn 1 Inquisition. Because
I think if I still thinking about it, if he hadn't Inquisition that, I play my star on turn 1, I still get to draw that Karn. I just see it a turn earlier.
No, because like what your first draw was Power Plant.
Yeah.
And if you then cast Stirrings there, you get your choice between Tower or Karn.
You don't get both. My turn 1, I play my star.
Right.
And then I untap.
And you draw Tower.
I draw Tower. So I still get it off the cycle, but it was pretty funny.
No, the real insane thing here is that you also just never cast the Stirrings.
No.
So
Never had to.
it's just a mull of 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't ever cast the Thragtusk either. You
Well,
no,
you mulled to 2. It just nothing in your hand mattered besides
the land.
One land.
Yeah, you mulled to 1.
That's actually ridiculous that like you're playing a deck at Modern, then like you could have mulled to 1 and then just.
Well, yeah, like after upticking Karn twice, targeting my opponent, I'm just like, all right, it's time to target myself. Exile this Thragtusk. Exile this Ugin I drew. Like, let's go.
Yeesh.
Yeah. It was pretty sweet.
Poor guy.
Yeah. He was it was funny. We laughed about it, but you could tell like he was all stoked that he was going to win the second game because I mulled so much, and then good old Karn.
just
drawn new
drawn things. Yeah. God,
this is why we play Modern, boys.
Makes me sick. That's actually an insane sequence of draws.
Yeah.
That like you kept a hand that actually had a chance of like.
That's how I knew I was going to run hot that entire day.
Yeah, if that's your round one, you're like, I'm invincible. This is an easy tournament.
Maybe you can be our Modern player.
It was pretty sweet.
That's the kind of Tron we need in our lives. Yeah, because then you can just crumple and then coach.
Yeah. I mean, it was a successful day, not just because I made top 8, but also, one of the reasons why I play Tron is because I really enjoy making my opponents miserable. And I made plenty of people miserable.
How many times did we start the game?
Twice? Twice. Twice, yeah.
That's actually a lot. Most people,
yeah.
Like, most of the time it's just over.
Yeah. Usually just down tick and Stone Rain, but upticking, restarting the game, pretty hyped too.
Haven't you ranted on the podcast that you just always Stone Rain?
Oh, yeah. You generally always Stone Rain. But like in that situation, in that game too, like I'm going to down tick this Karn and then he's going to bolt it and I'm going to lose. He hasn't done anything yet. He has a bolt in his hand.
Yeah.
Probably like.
You had the reads.
Yeah. So I'm just going to keep upticking and then we're good.
Yeah. What's he going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Can't wait for Karn to ruin Standard.
Yeah. That'll be pretty sweet. I can't wait.
I was like playing that Grixis Thopters deck for a while.
Yeah.
That 4-mana 5/6 flyer looked pretty good in that deck, eh?
Yeah, we talked about this last week.
No, but not in Thopters. We didn't talk about what deck it could go into.
Actually,
we talked about earlier Virtuoso. So
Paulo wrote an article about the genie on on Channel Fireball.
Really?
Talking about what decks it could fit in and how it might be really good. We said it first.
Man,
he must listen to the podcast. I think
I think they all must because like. Like we can't talk now about what we would play and what we think about Grand Prix Tour. We just have to lie.
Well, you know what we should do?
All those pros are just scouting the DWC.
Yeah, can you blame them?
No. What we need to do is we need to contact vendors that will be at a GP, right? We get friendly with all the vendors that'll have booths there. We release an episode on a Wednesday, and we see how many people buy cards, Thursday, Friday. Then, for the next GP, we release the episode like Friday in the middle of the day. And see how many pros are scrambling to buy cards
at the last minute.
Because they're waiting for our episode.
Yeah, not gonna work. No one listens to this podcast. Come on. But like, no, it's just funny. Like, we always joke about it, but like, we're pretty good at predicting the meta for it. So yeah,
we're very good.
Although I have no idea where Standard's going. Like, if I play this weekend, I just have no idea what I would play.
I'm just trying something out for fun.
Play Scarab God.
Because I still want to demonstrate that
first.
3-mana planeswalkers are busted. So
to be fair, we also like months before Scarab God exploded, we were like yelling like you should buy copies. Like that card's gonna be like a $50 card. Like I was saying it. I was like buy them when they were like $10. I was like yelling on the podcast like I bought like 8 copies. Like or like I'm gonna like whatever because I kept saying it and I ended up not remember and I was mad about it. But I told everyone else, like I told like Bentley, I told all these people and they were like, "Yeah, I listened to you," and like bought them out and like when they were like $12, $13, and now they're like $50. I'm like, yeah, like card nuts. Win condition in one card, unkillable. D's. But like, yeah, I don't know. Like I might play Scarab God this weekend just to wrap things up. I don't know. I think I might play a go wide strategy.
I'm playing Turbo Scarabs.
Turbo Scarabs.
Yeah, so
You're gonna serve another Conduit Scarabs into play.
no,
Awful.
no, not Servant of the Conduit. Everyone, like all of these standard games are revolving around whether you like who can activate Scarab God first, who gets to untap with him first.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think 3-mana Planeswalkers are just inherently very strong, kind of irrelevant of what they do. So I'm going to play Nissa, Steward of the Elements, and then I'm going to tick her up to 5, and then I'm going to 0 and put my Scarab God into play and activate it.
Just like we wrote it up.
Yeah.
It's a race. Yeah, and this Steward Elements is a solid card, actually. And like a card, I think, in the kind of like Grixis and control mirrors that has a lot of power to it. Like it's
Right, like
creates
they have
advantage, extra land drops. Like these are kind of like they evolve into control mirrors. Like it lets you hit extra lands.
Just sucks. You have to play green.
The mana's probably
mana,
fine.
you can make the mana fine. Like it's
I
not
think
that much
Servant
green.
sucks, and like I just like
I mean, Servant is I'm not sold on it. I could replace it if you have a better idea, but like yeah, just
Channeler Initiate. That's huge.
yeah, that guy is better actually.
Okay. Well, I mean, the reason I went to Servant
Get
is
one more
because
activation out of it.
no, the reason I went to Servant
Yeah,
is
you get
because
more activation,
No,
and it gets huge.
the reason I went to Servant is because when I was playing Grixis,
But Cam, it gets massive.
a lot of the times you didn't care about the Thopters from Whirler Virtuoso. What you cared is that it allowed your Glint Sleeve Siphoner to draw cards multiple turns in a row.
Yeah, that is reasonable.
So Servant, I think, is relevant enough just as a 2/2 that lets your Glint Sleeve draw a card every turn instead of every other turn.
Can't make mana then, though. It's drawing cards.
Yeah, you can. You can attack with your Glint
Your
Sleeve and then make mana.
And then make mana.
Man, it's magical Christmas land getting to make mana and attack with your gun sleeve.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called good deck building.
Man, no.
I doubt that very much. Yeah, I would probably play a go white strategy with like a really like good card advantage engine somewhere. I don't know what that looks like, but
Or you could just play blue black and have those things and just not go wide.
I think you can do both.
Get you a deck who
Sounds
does both.
like magical Christmas land to me.
Yeah. Or I'll just play Approach to the Seconds on control. Yo, that deck's probably nuts.
No, it's not.
How could it not be?
Negate?
I don't want to get into this.
Okay, actually, you know what's how come people don't play Vraska then?
I am playing one.
Okay,
In my Nissa deck,
smartest man
'cause I'm playing
alive.
green.
Smartest man alive over here.
Yeah, I'm going to put Vraska's in it too. Those are green cards.
Yeah, actually, just play the blue-black mid-rangey style decks with Vraska because then you have an answer to Argo's Bloodfast,
Yeah.
even though it comes down 4 turns later.
Well,
But that's why you play Servant.
Oh, and Nissa, you're playing 2 lands per turn.
Yeah. All right, solved it.
Yeah,
Format
exactly.
solved. You heard it here first.
Podcast ahead of the meta, and I'm ahead of you two.
No, actually though, like Vraska's probably actually very well positioned. If I was playing, that would be like the kind of grindy card advantage you'd want, I think, because like it answers the problems exactly that the Grixis decks have an issue with. And the blue-black deck, like if you just move to bug, like it gives you an out to a lot of the problems. It also saves you from the more aggressive decks by letting you play like certain green cards that are good there. So I think there's like a lot of options there for like a bug, like moving towards bug. Like if we're already abandoning Whirler Virtuoso, I'd be interested in playing a deck that plays like Vraska and some of the other green cards. Like maybe the black-green Constrictor decks are even good. Who knows? But
And if you're playing like Scarab God and Nissa and Vraska and maybe a Death Majesty, like they only have 4 to 6 Vraska's Contempts. Like, then what?
yeah, like if you're playing Nissa and Vraska, like that's a lot of problems for them to also deal with the Scarab God. So
Mhm.
yeah, no.
How much mid range can we do?
We're right. Like that's
Yeah.
we've talked about this on the podcast, but like currently we're in the mid-range nuclear arms race, right? Where everyone's trying to go bigger and slower. Like
And if they ever tap out to deal with anything, like a Nissa in your hand is just with 10 damage Fireball.
yeah.
I don't know.
Cam and I are gonna win something this weekend, I'll tell you that.
Yep.
All right. Thank you all for joining the club this week. Make sure, as always, you check out wizardtower.com for all your Magic single needs. If you want to get into contact with us, you can find us on Facebook at the Disorganized Wizard Club Podcast, also on Twitter at DWC Podcast 1. Shoot us a message if you want to talk to us about anything in particular, want to hear us talk about something on the show, or want us to clarify something we talked about. And as always, however you listen to this podcast, whether it's on Podbean, iTunes, or any of your podcast apps, share it with your friends, review the podcast. Everything helps, the podcast keep growing and bring it to new ears. We'll see y'all next week.
Always a pleasure.
See ya.